When was the last time you were totally sober, James?
I was 11.
Whoever's there, you better leave!
First things first, are you a cat person in real life?
We had cats growing up, yeah. I don't have a cat now, but I had a cat sort of, yeah, until I was like 15 at home. Me and Bob got on really well. He came around to my house like about a few weeks before we started filming, and then we just got on really well. And then in the dressing room in the day, like I'd bring my guitar in, and he'd be sitting in my guitar case having a little rest, and yeah, we got on really well. James was brilliant at kind of. You know, it's quite hard to sort of like get a cat that, you know, knows you so well to then be comfortable with just nipping onto someone else's shoulders while they walk around a busy London street. But James was incredible, and, you know, we'd have these little things like he'd put Bob on my shoulders and then we'd go for a little walk up and down, and after we did that, Bob would then realise I was a safe person to stand on and be comfortable and sit on my shoulders, and yeah, it was just funny little things like that.
That's incredible.
It's cool.
You can't even get a dog to do that, and they're easily trained.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Bob is just very receptive. I mean, he had his eye on the prize, didn't he? He wanted to be on the poster. He was going to get involved in that film. So
he knew this was his shot.
It was his shot, yeah.
His make or break deal. Because sometimes actors have to do a chemistry test with another actress or actor. Do you have to do a chemistry test with Bob to see before?
No, it wasn't meant to be Bob in the film even. It was meant to be four cats, which also are in the film as well. There were other sort of cats which were trained for things like jumping on a bus and the stunts, basically, and lots of things. And they were brilliant as well, with brilliant handlers that trained them and things. But then we found that, yeah, just Bob, having had the experience of being around so many people in his life, was just very zen and very cool, and it could sit down whilst people were walking past on the pavement and not bat an eyelid. And that was amazing. So we ended up using him a lot, yeah.
Oh, wow. I just died when I saw him in a scarf.
Right.
I almost cried in the screening just then.
Yeah.
Did you on set?
He's a cutie, isn't he? He's lovely, and he's just got it was very cool. It was weird because I didn't know the book beforehand. I wasn't like, if I'd maybe known about their story, for like some people are just massive fans, and I remember thinking it's a bit like, I don't have kids, but I imagine it's a bit like when people, you know, see a baby, they just don't even say hi to the mum or dad, do they? They go straight for the baby, oh, like that, and it's walking around with Bob on your shoulders. It was this like amazing sort of beacon coming off you, and people were just, you know, just blown away to see James and Bob walking around Covent Garden. They're kind of, you know, they're icons of Covent Garden now, so yeah, it was cool.
Getting to know James, did that kind of make the story hit home a bit more?
Well, I was already very touched and moved and sort of felt, you know, like it must have been a very, very hard journey that James had gone on, from reading the script and the book, and then, but it was weird, before I met him, before he came around to my house, I'd watched loads of interviews with him and sort of got this sort of idea a bit of like who he was and what he might be like, but then for him to actually come round and for us to have, I think the first night we just spent like 5 hours talking and playing guitars and just, you know, hanging out basically, and he was just so open and up for kind of sharing things and details about his life, which maybe things that weren't even in the book, and whatever it was that I felt might be helpful to know, he was very kind to share, really, and he just wanted it to be right, you know, he wanted the story to be right, and so I took all the information I could from James. I also went to kind of drug clinics and addiction centres to speak to both patients and doctors, because, you know, you sort of have to build up all angles, really, to understand it, I think. Some people might be able to explain what it's like for them from that point of view, but, you know, a doctor might be able to give you a sort of scientific version of what it is for, you know, what's happening in your bloodstream at that point when you're coming off something, you know, and things like that, which was really useful to kind of get a handle on. You don't want to try and portray like addiction or homelessness or anything like that without having a clear understanding of it, I think. Otherwise there's a danger of just, you know, generalising it.
I had a very important companion to help with my second chance.
Second time around.
Okay, look, I'll take that off if you promise not to lick the stitches.